big time. We talked about the improvement of Antetokounmpo and Jokic and others, but how about what Porter did as he was big third part of the trio for the Wiz? Well, now not 3, but 4 years, $106 million. Max offer from the Kings. So what about it? Is it just a power play to get to D.C. or not? We get a chance to talk more about the Wizards. Candace Buckner, Washington Post, kind enough to join us. So, Candace, I think we knew when there wasn't a deal that eventually somebody else, whether Brooklyn or Sacramento, would do this. So here we are. What's the next step in this situation between D.C. and getting Porter back in?
Well, it doesn't seem like there'll be a lot of drama because from all indication that, the Wizards have been telling reporters, myself included, they're going to match whatever price Otto brings back. They're going to match, including this max deal. So of course, they have 48 hours after the moratorium ends, but this is their core. He's a big part of what they believe in this team, and that can contend in the East. So they had to bring him back, and apparently won't scoff at a max.
I know, Candace, there was a lot of conversation, really for everyone except Oklahoma City, right, to get Paul George. You put him in a lot of different jerseys around the league, but a lot of talk about Washington having interest, making a move like that. Once he was out of the way, did it solidify once and for all that it was going to be a necessity and an inevitability that it would be Otto Porter who would be brought back, and that would be the big move of the offseason?
Right. Well, 29 teams made phone calls to the Pacers about Paul George. Of course, Washington expressed some interest, but what do they really have realistically to get into that sweepstakes? And again, from the beginning of Otto's really ascendant season, he's been the guy that they said they're going to bring back. Paul George would have been great here, but just didn't seem like a realistic option.
Candace, appreciate it. Keep the cell phone handy. Happy 4th to you. Talk to you again soon. Thanks again. Let's get more on this. Our own David Aldridge is here. D.A., Otto Porter was a huge piece. I don't think people talked about nationally enough how good he was last year. How important, even if it is inevitable, of a move is this for this franchise?
Oh, it's crucial, Casey. Look, his numbers are off the charts good for this team. And more importantly, he's a great fit with Wall and Beal. He just works with them very well. And so, you can't keep replacing your starting small forward. They did it a few years ago with Trevor Ariza. Then Paul Pierce was there for a year. So they can't keep starting over at that position. This is a young guy that they drafted and that they have helped develop, and he's grown into a very, very good player for them. Is the sticker shock a little much? Yeah, it is. But at the end of the day, if you're trying to compete in the East, we saw Toronto do it earlier today. You've got to keep your group together as best you can. Now, the trade-off might be hard. In fact, probably will be hard for them to keep Bojan Bogdanovic. They got him at the trade deadline last year from Brooklyn for a first-round pick. But as part of that deal, they jettisoned the salary of Andrew Nicholson, and that was a big chunk of money that was going to be tied up otherwise. By doing that, they feel like they can match Otto Porter on anything, including a max offer, and not have too much pain in terms of luxury tax. Now, if you re-sign Bogdanovic, it starts to sting a little.
Well, it's a good point to bring up, D.A., and let's find out from our capologist, Eric Pincus, because, and I don't want to take away, they did add Tim Frazier when we got to the start of this whole thing, who will help. They were in need of a backup point. Brandon Jennings is a free agent, so now we expect that this will be matched. When you plug in the numbers, is Bogdanovic or is anyone else a possibility after that?
Actually, yes, but it depends on the tax. So do they want to pay the tax? And that's the NBA question. Are we ready to pay the tax? Are we close enough to do so? What they did, though, is they made a deal to bring in Jody Meeks from the Orlando Magic. And they're using what is called the biennial exception. It's about $3 million. And when you use that, you lock in a hard cap. So this will be one of the teams that has a hard cap at $125 million. Now, they could pay Bojanovic. I have it down at maybe $12 million. Bogdanovic. It's Bojan Bogdanovic. I get confused with the guy in Sacramento who has the same name, basically.
Yeah, Bogan or
Bojan Bojanovic.
Yeah, I'll figure it out once.
Yes.
I'm just.
And he's coming this year too. He's coming to the Kings this year.
Yes.
So,
yes.
You got to figure that out when the time comes. But basically, they're okay if they want to pay the tax.
Right.
Other than that, if they don't pay Bogdanovic, then they got $8.4 million, the mid-level, to go after someone else. And that's the question: is there someone else who's better, and can they go into the tax? And is $12 million enough Bogdanovich.
Well, here's the thing. The Wizards are not, if you're at home, you watched D.C. last year. Guys, they're not going to get Paul George, so they're not going to vault anywhere different. But let's not throw away, we all know the issue of why they couldn't beat the Celtics. The bench point scoring was like 1 million to like 4. So Tim Frazier, Jody Meeks, you're starting to get a little bit deeper as a team. Otto Porter, Smitty, development last year, as I said, Greek Freak, Jokic, a lot of talk about those. But how about the improvement you saw 1 year to the next of Otto Porter?
Only complaint I had, Stu and Casey and Eric, he didn't shoot enough. And calling that game in the playoffs, I talked to Scott Brooks. He said we were encouraging him to shoot more. I think he's a great fit, a fantastic young man, a kid that sometimes you look at a kid, what he goes through, playing at Georgetown, a high pick, those first couple of years, I mean, it was tough on him. People saying he couldn't play. So to be a guy to take his craft and increase the numbers the way he increased in shooting percentage and still able to play defense and fit in with guys who take a lot of shots, I think he's a perfect fit for a lot of teams. Yes, the number is high, but I don't think the Wizards, like D.A. said, they couldn't afford to lose him. But you're right. Losing him would have made that bench even worse. So I think they had to have him.
You know, and the question is, can they be better, Stu? Because Otto Porter continues to improve. We saw John Wall take it to another level. Bradley Beal, who added not just a shot, he's getting to the basket. Can the guys they have, if they can't add anyone else, can they be a better team this year than they were last year?
Well, I don't think there's any question because of their youth. I mean, you saw John Wall, at least in my mind, take a huge step in terms of not only his performance level, but just his ability to run a franchise team. Bradley Beal stayed healthy and played at a very high level, but Otto Porter just had the best of his 4 years as a Washington Wizards, and he's improved in scoring and rebounding each of those seasons. But you have a guy, this guy, you understand, he shot 52% from the field. 52% from the field and 43 from three. I mean, and you talk about chemistry and fit with a team. You know, personality-wise, Otto's a terrific young man. He's not what I would call an alpha dog, but you don't need one when you got John Wall and Bradley Beal on the team. And the reason that he maybe didn't shoot as much is that he's a guy you don't need to run things for. He can get his off the glass. He picks up, you know, offensive rebound. He makes open shots. Tremendous fit. But to lose him out of that starting lineup with Gortat, Morris, Beal, and Wall and not have Otto Porter there would have been a huge blow. But now if you're the Wizards, you've got your core together, your starting five. Now it's time to go and see what you can find on the cheap in the open market to really bolster that bench. And if they do that, they're going to take a step.
Question is, do you have the fever yet? Do you get
the fever? I have the fever.
I got the fever.
You got the fever?
I got the fever.